Reports have come out that the Toronto Raptors and Brooklyn Nets have discussed a trade that would send Pascal Siakam to Brooklyn, and in return they've discussed various packages, but one of them includes Ben Simmons coming back to Toronto, as well as some draft compensation. So I'm feeling a little bit shocked, confused, overwhelmed by that one, so we'll discuss that, as well as the Toronto Raptors almost jumping in on the Kyrie Irving trade, being a third team that would send Spencer Dinwiddie to Toronto. That didn't fall through, but we'll discuss that, as well as Josh Loomer coming out and saying the Toronto Raptors, if the teams aren't willing to meet their asking prices, are willing to stand pat and do nothing this trade deadline. So there is a bunch of stuff we have to discuss. So let's just jump into the first topic of discussion. This one has me shook. I don't know what to say out here on this podcast, but the Toronto Raptors have discussed a Siakam for Ben Simmons trade amongst other packages. And what on earth are we doing? I put out a video this morning saying that there was no chance that the Toronto Raptors would end up acquiring Ben Simmons. And I said it. KOC, basically, he discussed how the Raptors were interested in Simmons and maybe a package could be worked out between the Raptors and a guy that they were formerly interested a couple seasons ago before he became absolutely, completely, utter damaged goods. Right? That's what KOC said. I came out there roasting him. I didn't even contemplate that it was a reality, a possibility. We'd even discuss a Ben Simmons trade. But no, Masai Ujiri is out here still on the young socialite watch. He's out here getting all the dance moves going as a report has come out from Mike Scotto, essentially indicating that the Toronto Raptors have been discussing a trade with the Brooklyn Nets that involve Pascal Siakam. I'll let that animation play out. I'll pull up the tweet here now. But basically, the Nets have expressed interest in Toronto Raptors forward Pascal Siakam, according to the Stein line, who first reported it. The Toronto Raptors covet Nick Claxton in trade talks, while Ben Simmons and draft pick compensation have also been discussed. League sources told Scotto as well as Hoops Hype. Now, Michael Scotto obviously is not Adrian Wojnarowski. He's not a guy that is in the upper echelon reporting things that are essentially done, but he is an NBA League insider. He has gotten things right in the past. We've covered him on this channel before. He's not no one. He's not a random Twitter account throwing this stuff out there. And what are we doing? Why on earth would we, firstly, be trading Pascal Siakam right now for not an insane haul? Right, Pascal Siakam this season has been absolutely remarkable for the Raptors. Sure, he's fallen off a little bit in recent weeks because the load on him has been astronomical this season, but still, 25 points per game, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, right, shooting 47% from the field. He's literally the focal point of every single defense. They all load up on Siakam, and this season, he's upped his passing game, he's upped his defense, and he's truly grown into like a number one option for this Raptors team. And even in the playoffs last year against Philadelphia, he had some shining moments. So, firstly, why is he in these trade discussions? But secondly, for the returns that the Nets would give, sure, Nick Claxton's cool. And I see Nets fans popping in our comment section saying, no way you guys are getting Nick Claxton. He's great. He's going to be a DPOY candidate. You know, looking at his stats and stuff, right? Nick Claxton, sure, he's really good. You know, 13 points, 9 rebounds, couple blocks a night, doing his thing out there, efficient from around the rim. But you know what? He can't shoot. He's pretty skinny. He's not going to be able to guard the Joel Embiids and the Giannis Antetokounmpos of the world. He'd be a great pickup for the Toronto Raptors. For Pascal Siakam? For an all-NBA, NBA champion? No, I'm not even just in the realm of thinking that's like even comparable, assets. But, we add draft pick compensation to it there as well. And then you bring up the young socialite. You bring up Ben Simmons, right? Could he be in a deal? And, Mike Scotto saying that different packages have been discussed. But is Ben Simmons really an asset right now? He is on making $30 million per year this year. Over that next season, mid-30s, he is getting paid 2 seasons down the line. And you want to know what stats Ben Simmons is putting up this season? You want to see his stats? Here they are. Ben Simmons is currently averaging 7 points per game. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 56% from the field, but he barely takes any shots. 2 turnovers a night. Sure, the 1.4 steals are good, and you say, oh, Ben Simmons is a great defender. What's this? You know what? He hasn't even been that great on the defensive end this year. There's all that. And he's a historically bad free throw shooter. He is on pace to be one of, if not the worst free throw shooting, have the worst free throw shooting season in NBA history right now. this season. And this is the guy, this is the centerpiece. Maybe you look at Claxton as the centerpiece, but this is the main component, the biggest name you're getting back in a Pascal Siakam deal. This guy has negative trade value. He is an offload. He is a liability we are acquiring. Sure, if he comes to the Raptors, I'm going to convince myself, well, we'll turn this guy around. He was an all-star. I get it. I'm a homer Raptors fan, so but for Pascal Siakam, I don't want to acquire a guy that I'm going to have to talk myself into because he's been utter garbage for his newest team. Because he sat out basically an entire season last year because he was mad a coach threw him under the bus. Nah, Masai, I have the utmost respect for Masai Ujiri. I give him the benefit of the doubt on every single move, but unless we're getting Claxton, 5 first-round picks, the Nets don't even have that, but all of the picks they acquired in the Harden, the Kyrie trades, all of the swaps, unless we're getting it all, along with Cam Thomas, who's only averaging 8 points himself this season, but put up a couple 40 pieces in recent outings. Unless we're getting all of that back, I'm going to be looking at this trade with a very critical eye. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say on that, because I don't even want to speak this, give it more air. So I don't want this trade to happen. But if you guys want to bet on anything regarding the Toronto Raptors, definitely check out the CoolBet Sportsbook. Change of pace. I feel bad. Sounding negative. I'm frustrated right now, but check out CoolBet. They've been supporting the podcast big time. They're a sportsbook regulated in Ontario, available all across Canada. And you bet every single Toronto Raptors game, NBA game in general, and bet on these trades. And bet against. Go down to CoolBet, look at their futures, look at their odds. Bet against the Nets. Bet against any trade possible with Pascal Siakam being involved with it. You can do that using the CoolBet Sportsbook. Sign up, put some good karma into there. I don't know. I'm just cheesed right now. I can't even get a good ad read, but it means the world to me if you guys sign up for CoolBet using that link down below. But I thought that's the number. That's what we're leading this video off of. But we have just as big of news that happened today as the Toronto Raptors almost joined in on a blockbuster deal here tonight. And we all heard it. We all heard about the deal that was made between the Brooklyn Nets as well as the Dallas Mavericks out here today. As Kyrie Irving was sent to Dallas, Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith were sent to the Brooklyn Nets. Well, Woj came out, and also the Brooklyn Nets have expressed interest. Yeah, we saw that. But the Nets-Mavs trade still hasn't been made official. This came out earlier today because the Nets are evaluating opportunities to expand the deal with a third team. Teams are expected to make the two-way deal official in the next couple of hours, unless the Nets can find something bigger to fold it into it. Then Woj goes on to respond saying, many conversations in the league are going through one team today, the Toronto Raptors. So that's big news in itself, that the entire league, all the trade conversations are going through Toronto at this point. But we almost joined in on this deal. That was our sort of response to this tweet. Mark Stein followed up essentially saying that, reiterating what Woj said, that they're looking for a third team. But among possibilities for expanding the Kyrie Irving to Dallas trade before this evening's scheduled trade call, the league sources say that Brooklyn has explored the feasibility of packaging Spencer Dinwiddie and draft capital to Toronto in an attempt to acquire Fred VanVleet. So the Nets were essentially offering a deal almost went down, with Fred VanVleet going to the Brooklyn Nets, as we've speculated in recent days, right, about how KD might want a new point guard with Kyrie gone. He has the utmost respect for Fred VanVleet. He could potentially be moved because he has that big contract the offseason, but Fred VanVleet going to Brooklyn, and in return the Raptors getting a package that is centered around Spencer Dinwiddie and draft capital. Now, the Raptors have had a lot of interest in Spencer Dinwiddie at trade deadlines in recent years, and for good reason. 18 points per game, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Very, very solid stuff for Spencer Dinwiddie. 40% on a lot of three-point attempts per night. He's a great shooter. He's a great player. Obviously not like an all-star guy, but a tier below that, right? A good scorer. He's long. He can play defense. Would be a cool pickup for the Toronto Raptors. Now, straight up for Fred VanVleet, obviously if there's some draft cap compensation involved with it, then it becomes more intriguing, especially given Fred VanVleet's contract status this offseason if we don't think we could pay him. But I thought that was pretty interesting. It would have been wild if the Toronto Raptors ended up jumping into that deal. But Masai Ujiri got cold feet, or maybe they're discussing something bigger. That would bring us the young socialite, Nick Claxton, for Pascal Siakam. Like, I don't know, folks. I am speechless about that report. I am still overwhelmed by it, but let's I'm gonna need a bunch of Raptors therapy sessions, or if that deal ends up going down. But the next thing we're talking about is the Raptors are telling teams that they are content to wait till the offseason if they don't get the offers that they are requesting. Now, this might have sounded like sad news. This might have sounded like depressing news to a lot of Raptors fans, given the fact that a lot of fans are just sick of watching this team, the bad vibes that are occasionally going on with the squad. They've had a couple fun games lately, which has been cool, but this team doesn't feel like a fun Toronto Raptors team this year. People want to see something happen. They want to see a move go down. But Josh Lewenberg has come out and basically said that they're telling teams that if they don't like what's out there or they are not ready to make a big move, they are perfectly comfortable waiting till the offseason where more players may be available. So that's what Josh Lewenberg basically came out and said. And Mark Stein's giving a little contradictory report in terms of the Siakam thing we saw earlier. But based on my reporting, I don't think Masai Ujiri wants to seriously entertain a Siakam or Anunoby trade right now. But a lot of people around the league still think that there's time for that stance to change. Goes on to say that Fred VanVleet is most likely to be the guy that's dealt ahead of this year's trade deadline. So that sounds like good news at this point, given the fact that the other reports are coming out are saying we're going to trade our all-NBA guy for a dude averaging 7 points per game that's always injured, that doesn't seem to like basketball. So, I don't know. We need to make a move. This team is just bad. Maybe we're tanking. Maybe Masai Ujiri says, if we could have the worst shooting team of all time with Ben Simmons, Scotty Barnes, and Nick Claxton out there in your starting lineup, right? And Fred VanVleet might be taken out of it, right? Like, maybe we could have the worst shooting team of all time for a season, get Victor Wembanyama and figure it out from there. I don't know. Maybe it's 5D chess from Masai, but maybe they don't make a move. I don't know. But the final thing we're talking about is some Raptors players want moves to be made. And this is coming out from Chris Boucher's podcast host at the Yahoo show that they run. Basically he came out and said that there are players on the Raptors that want moves to be made. This is a fact. So, Mike Roche, people want moves. It's not just players on the Raptors, players on the Toronto Raptors. Something's got to happen. We need some sort of shakeup, but maybe not, because I don't want it to be something stupid like Pascal Siakam for Ben Simmons. But, folks, let me know what you guys think of all this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. We'll see what happens in the coming days, but this has been a whirlwind. If you guys want to stay up to date with everything surrounding this Raptors team, definitely hit that subscribe button. It means the world to us, but you guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.